In this episode of the tutorial, we're gonna learn how to use the event, the count, the pickup, the guide, the toggle, and the alpha, and as well as the UI trigger. We're gonna make a very cool counter that's basically gonna count how many times you have clicked, and we're gonna disable a wall if you clicked a certain amount of clicks. This is gonna be very fun. And now I kind of feel like there's a lot of spam because that's what Long is saying. So we're gonna do spam, and we're gonna add a new trigger. I'm gonna add a new trigger called the counter, and we're gonna make you have to spam a lot of times, maybe spam 10 times. And then there's a cube part, and then maybe we go very slow, because that's what the song says. If you guys hear it now, it goes very silent, and now it goes crazy again. So what we want to do is we want you to click, I would say 25 times. So the goal for this part is, if you go over here, you're gonna have to click 25 times in this part. I mean, it should be pretty easy to do. So and then you're gonna go to a different game mode. So that is, I think, a perfect way to end this wave part, because the song is saying so. So yeah, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a counter, and this is this number over here. You add it, and then you go to edit special. And this is going to open up a new menu that I have not seen before. And this is basically a counter. So you want to, just like you give each object a group ID, you can give counters a unique item ID, all right? An item ID of 1. So now you can see C is 1. So the count is 1. And now if you use the pickup, you guys can see, actually, I'm just going to playtest normally. I'm going to place this one perhaps over here, make sure it is on mini mode, and move it up like that. So now you can see that it turns into a 0, because by default, every single item ID that you add newly is set to 0. However, we can use the pickup to change that number. So if you want to use the pickup and then edit object, and now you guys can see that if we go to item ID 1, we want to add 1 to it, right? We want to add 1, and now as soon as I hit it, this number turns 1. It is perfect. Or you can override it. You can multiply the current number by this number, or divide it. But for now, I think we only need these two hitboxes. So now we want this counter. So now we want this counter to basically increase every time you click. So how do we do this? How do we make this do that every time you click? It is actually fairly easy, because we know how to use triggers already. So we're gonna go crazy with this one. So you want to add well, you could use two separate triggers. You can use a touch trigger or an event trigger. I'm actually going to teach you the event trigger, because this is the newer one, and it also has a lot more options. So we can teach you that on the way. So add an event trigger over here. And then if you open the edit object, you can see that group ID, extra ID, and extra ID 2. So these two, we don't really want them. We don't need them. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on this guy, and you guys can see a lot of options. So what this means is that what this trigger does is it basically triggers another trigger if the player does something. So if, say, for example, the player jumps, we want to do something. Or if he touches an orb, we want to do something, right? If he lands, we want to do something. If he, what do you say, checkpoint, or if there are a lot of options. So what we want to do, every time you click, not jump, because you're not jumping as the wave, you want to click. So jump push, if you go back to 69, option 69 is jump push. So if the button, so this button, as you guys can see on my mouse, if this one was clicked, this is jump push. So you are pushing it. And jump release is what I'm going to do in 3, 2, 1. So jump push, jump release. This is release and jump. We want to use jump push. So every time you jump, every time you push the jump button, what we want to do is we want to trigger this one. So we want to add 1, which we did over here, by if the player clicks once. So we want to give this trigger a group ID, just like we did with the structures. Now this one is the target group ID, because that's what we want to trigger every time you click. So add a group ID of 5, and then add over here in the event, in group ID, add 5. So what this means, so this trigger, what it does is it basically triggers this one every time you do this. So every time you click, what's going to happen is 5 is going to be triggered. Who is 5? 5 is increasing a number to this guy. It is very simple. So now if you start, it's actually not gonna work because what you guys saw is that nothing has happened. Like if I don't click, this one is just gonna go to 1 because as soon as I reach it, it's gonna go to 1. So what you want to do is make it a spawn trigger. So a spawn trigger makes it so that it doesn't get triggered when the player kind of reaches it, but it makes it so that it's a spawn trigger. So it has to be spawned by another trigger, like the event trigger, for example. It has to be spawned by the event trigger for it to actually be triggered, right? So now you guys can see if I make this timer over there, you guys can see that if I click, it's gonna go to 1. So if I don't click, it's gonna stay at 0. Perfect. If I click, it's gonna go to 1. But if I click multiple times, nothing is gonna happen. And that is because this only gets triggered once. So we want to trigger it as much as we want. So we're gonna go to multi-trigger. This way it gets triggered more than once. So if you go to multi-trigger now, you guys can see that we can spam. Let's go. We can spam and the number gets increased a lot. So that is perfect. We have used 2 brand new triggers and it is working perfectly. So now the problem is that you can't really see the timer if you go past it. So we want to make it kind of follow the player. So we want to give that counter object a new group ID because we want to move it. And there are a lot of different ways to kind of make it follow you, but I'm going to use the move trigger because I believe that is the easiest. So with the move, you can also make it lock. You can lock it to the player. So what we want to do is this one is group ID 6. We want to add 6 in here and we want to lock it to the position of the player. So just follow the position of the player. Now if you start, it's actually going to follow you until this duration line has ended. So what we want to do is we want to actually do that for a very long time, maybe 10 seconds like that. Now you guys can see that the timer is following you and you can click as many times as you want. So that is awesome. But what we want to do is we actually want to, I think if you make it follow you until the end, it would be pretty cool. And in the end, we're just going to make it fade out. To make it fade out, we're going to use the new trigger called the alpha trigger. And this is basically going to change the opacity of that group ID. So group ID, which one was it? Click on it. You can see in here 6, or click on there. You can see 6. So 6, we want to make 6 go to opacity 0 in the time of 0.8. So in here, so that at the end it kind of ends. So like that, and you guys can see that it's gonna follow you, and you can see that your counts. And now if we see like that, it's gonna slow down and fade away. Perfect. So now we're actually going to use a lot more triggers because what we're going to do is we're going to have to, okay, what I'm going to do firstly is I'm going to add a text by going to here and then add it and then edit object text and then add /25 because this is how many clicks we want, right? So if we do it like that, you guys can see that it's a first 0 out of 25. And we want to move these guys together. So what do? We actually give this one the group ID of 6. So that these two, if we select them both, they are on group ID 6. It is perfect, right? Now you guys can see that I have to click 25 times, or I can click more. So yeah. So the first thing we want to do is actually, if you do this, you guys can see that the number makes sense, but if it goes up to 10, it's actually going to start overlapping and look very weird. So we don't really want that to happen. What we want to do is we want to select this counter and align it on the right. So this is the right alignment. And now if you do like that, the number is always going to stay on the right. And if it goes to 10, looks perfect. Awesome. So now what we're going to do is after you reach around here, so in there, we're going to add this, and then we're going to add like, let's add some fancy objects like these ones, for example. And then I want to use this guy, maybe like that. Yeah. That is very cool. When I select them and give them all a group ID of 7. And yeah, now what's going to happen is that we're going to have a wall at the end. And if you have clicked 25 times or more, we're going to allow you to go through this wall. So the first thing we want to do is actually add the hitbox for the wall because these guys don't have any hitbox. So we want to add this one and then go to group ID extra and then hide. So we want to hide these guys. So now you guys can see that they are no longer visible. And now if you add it on top of each other and select these guys, we can link them. And you can do that if you go to here, settings, and enable link controls. Enable this one, keep it like that, and then you can link them. And now if I select any of them, it's going to select all of them, and you can unlink them like that, and then you can select individual ones. So we want to link them because this is all going to be one. We want to have it all as one. So all of that, we're going to give it the group ID of 7. And if that 7 was kind of blue, that means that not all of the selected objects have that group ID. So remember, at first we only gave the bricks the group ID, but then we added these guys on top. So if I now select these guys, it's going to be a 7. If I select this one, which is new, it's going to go to blue because this one doesn't have the group ID of 7. So we want to delete this one. We have this one, which is the group ID of 7. So we want to remove it. How do we remove things? We remove them by using the toggle trigger. So if you add this one over here and we toggle 7 off, we want to toggle 7 off. And now if we do that, you guys can see that now this is simply going to go away. The wall is going to go away, which is perfect. And if you want to enable it again, you can just copy it, paste it, and then activate group. So now it goes away and then it comes back again. So now, if you just don't click anything, the wall is still gonna go away. And we don't want that. We don't want that. We want the wall to only go away if you have clicked more than 24 times. So what you can use is you can use the instant count, or you can use the count, or you can use the item compare. I'm gonna use the item compare because that's like the latest one that was added, but I'm also going to use the count. I'm going to use both of them. You don't have to use both. You can use one, but I want to show you guys the difference between these guys. So we're going to use item compare first, and what this does is it basically compares the item IDs. So do you remember, you guys, I added this one with an item ID of 1, and that is a variable, you can say, that basically stores how many times you have clicked, right? So now it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and it's increasing. So they basically compare it. You can compare, and that is actually what we want. We want to compare, is the number larger than 25? And if it is, then we want to disable this one, right? So we want to trigger this one if that is, if the player has clicked more than 25 times. So if we select this one, you can see that it has the item ID of 1. So you go to the item compare, click here, but just don't get scared because it is going to look very complicated, but it's not. Trust me, it's not complicated. So now, if you click on edit objects, you can see a lot of stuff, and just ignore everything. Just take a look at the top left corner. So we have the item ID. Which one was it? It was item ID 1. And then make sure you click on items so that item ID is getting compared. And just look at the top and at this one. So just look at these two. So now in here, you guys can see that we have I1 is equal to 1.000. What does that mean? Well, the way you read this is, of course, from left to right. And this basically shows you. So we're just going to focus on this one. So this is so item 1. So this is what we put in here. So if we change it to 2, you can see that this one also gets changed. So we want to do item 1 because that's what we want to compare. And you guys can see that equal to 1. So this is basically the trigger is asking, is item ID 1 equal to 1? So by default, it's 0. And if I click once, you guys can see that it's 1. So this statement over here would be true if I had clicked only once. Exactly one time, this would be true. So true is over here, you guys can see true, and this is false, right? So we're going to keep it very simple. And if I change this modifier to, you guys can see that this number is going to change, which is perfect. We want to change that number to make it, 25. So we want to delete all of this and type 25. So now you guys can see that if item ID is equal to 25, then we're going to trigger this one, the true. So what we're going to do first is give a group ID to this trigger that we added because we want to trigger it. We want to only disable the wall if you have clicked more than 25 times. So give this a group ID of 8, and then what we want to do is make sure that it's on spawn triggered, because we want to spawn it using another trigger, right? Just like we did with the pickup trigger. And multi-trigger, you don't need to, because the wall is only going to get deactivated once. So perfect. Now this one has the group ID of 8, this toggle trigger, and now this item compare, we want to add 8 in here, right? So what this means is that if item ID 1 is exactly equal to 25, then number 8 is going to be triggered. So if you have clicked exactly 25 times, the wall is going to go away. And this check is going to be done exactly when the player reaches this point over here. So when the player comes into here, the game is going to check, has he clicked 25 times? If he has, it's going to disable it. But we want to be a bit more flexible. We want to, be able to click more than 25 times, right? So if you click on this one, these ones are going to change. And now you guys can see that if item 1 is larger than 25, and now if you click again, it's going to be larger or equal to. So that's exactly what we want. So is item ID 1 equal to 25? Yes, it is. Or is it maybe larger than 25? So if it's equal to or larger than 25, then true is going to be triggered. Otherwise, false. So yeah, that is very cool. And if you click one more time, you can see that there are different options like less than or not equal to, and then we have equal to again, and then we have greater, and then greater or equal, which is what we want. So yeah, sounds complicated, but honestly, I don't think it is. We're simply just checking if the item ID 1, which basically stores your clicks, the amount of your clicks, we want to check if that is greater than 25 or 25. So is it 25 or greater? So now, if we click, you guys can see that I'm not going to click that many times, maybe just a few times, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you guys can see that I reached this point and nothing happened. And now if we spam many times, you guys can see we are more than 25, so the wall gets disabled. This is perfect. If you have gone so far, you guys are doing great. So we don't want to do it like that because the player may be scared, because if he reaches this point, let's say the player is right here and they see the wall is not disabled, so it's way too late until the wall gets disabled. So we want to move this back. However, if we move it back too much, what's going to happen is that the game is going to check way too early if you have clicked 25 times. So what do we do? Now if I, let's say, click not really that many times like that, and then I click in here a lot of times. Okay, that was bad. Let's say I do it like that. Okay, now as soon as I reach this, I'm not 25, and now I click a lot of times, nothing is going to happen. The wall is not going to go away, because we have already made the check where you had less than 25. So it was false and nothing was done over here. So what we want to do is I want to do a constant check. We want to check the whole time if this wall, if your clicks are 25. So what we want to do is we want to add this count trigger. So this one, if you click on this one, it's going to show you that the condition is checked constantly. So this is another trigger that basically compares things. So in here it is much simpler. Item ID 1 is that the target count 25. So as soon as 1 reaches 25, we're gonna trigger this one, right? This one is 8, so we want to trigger 8, right? This is very simple. And this one doesn't really matter where you put it because it's on the spawn trigger. And perfect. Now we have this count trigger, which basically checks as soon as item ID 1 reaches the value of 25, 8 is gonna be displayed, is going to be triggered, which is perfect. And you want to make sure to add activate group, because this basically activates that group, which toggles this one off. Or what you could do, if you want to go absolutely fancy, you can add 7 in here and disable that one. So this would basically do the effect of this one, of disabling this wall as soon as you reach 7, which as soon as you reach 25. But we want this to be a bit more simpler. We want to activate the group, the trigger that's going to disable this one, because later we might actually add some more effects into it. So we might want to have the wall kind of breaking out. And yeah, for that, you're going to need this trigger so that there you can add more triggers so that more things get triggered when you reach 25. And now there's the last problem. Now if you spam a lot, you guys can see that if we reach in there and then we spam, the wall is going to get disabled. However, if you spam a lot, you reach 25 before the trigger is there, nothing is going to happen, because from here on, the game starts checking if you have, if one has reached 25, but it hasn't. So we want to add this all the way at the very beginning. So if anywhere between here or there, or pretty much anywhere, you reach 25, then the wall is going to be disabled. So if the player clicks here 25 times already, it's disabled already. So you don't have to click anymore if the wall is disabled. Or if you feel a bit lazy at the beginning and then decide to spam really fast, the wall is going to get disabled when you reach 25. So that is perfect. We have made a click counter, which is pretty cool. So nice. Now I actually want to move this a bit like that, and then yeah, actually I'm gonna return it because we're gonna do something in here, because look at this. So what I want to do, I'm gonna delete these guys, and I'm actually gonna simply copy and paste this wall like that, so that the wall is larger like that, and then maybe in here add some soul blades or something. I'm also gonna make the background a bit brighter like that, so we can actually see the black soul blades. And now the wall, yeah, it's gonna disable at 25. I've reached it. And now what you guys can also do, you guys can see that the timer stays on the screen even if you reach 25, but we kind of wanted to fade it away if you reach 25. So if you guys have followed and understood how this works, this should be pretty simple to do. Instead of, fading it out over there, we want to copy this, Control C, and then we want to paste it in here and check what this has of a group ID 8, and then you want to give it this one 8 and then make it spawn trigger. So what this does is it basically not only deactivates the wall, but also fades away the timer. So now, if you reach 25, you guys are gonna see that the timer is gonna start fading away, which is clean, perfectly done, awesome. But honestly, I don't want this to fade away. Maybe the player wants to, see how many clicks they can click. Just keep it on there for more fun, right? You can do that. But now, another excuse to learn a new trigger is going to be the fact that, the timer is kind of on screen, and if you go up, you can't see it anymore. So we want it to always be on screen. Like I'm saying, always. So even if you do this, like that, the timer is visible on my screen, but if people have 4x3, it's not going to be visible on their screen. So we want it to always, on everybody's device, to always be visible on their screen. So for that, we're going to have to use the UI trigger. Then the UI trigger is basically, it's going to add elements onto your UI. And what UI is basically just some elements that are always there, that don't get influenced by the level or the camera. So what we're going to do is, the first thing we want to say is we want to have a plan. So we're going to add a camera guide trigger, and we want to move this timer up left. So this is your camera. You can see this trigger adds lines over here. So what this means is that this is your screen, right? Let's say this is your screen, and you want to have the timer somewhere on the top right corner. So somewhere in here, the timer is going to be. So this timer has a group ID of 6, and now you want to give the camera guide trigger a new group ID of 9. And now you go to this UI trigger, click on edit object, and remember that this one is 9, that one is 6. So the target UI is going to be 9. This is the camera. And then this one is going to be 6. So the group ID 6 is going to be targeted towards the camera. And now these buttons are also very simple. So where do we want it? On the top right corner. And what this means is very simple. The counter is always going to be stuck to the top right corner of your screen, because sometimes people have some really wide monitors, and this just makes sure that it's not in here, so that it's basically on the edge. And now if we start, you guys can see that the timer is always on the screen, but we have moved the timer, if you guys remember. So this is moving the timer with the player. So if you add a zoom trigger, kind of zoom out a lot, you guys might be able to see that the timer it's going to the right. So what's gonna happen is that this timer is just gonna go to the right, following the player. But we don't want to follow the player, so just remove the move trigger. And now, perfect, smooth. This timer is perfect. Looks very nice. Yeah, I kind of like this. This is pretty cool. So now the timer is always visible because the UI trigger, the way it works is not by when the player hits it, but rather this is always there. So if you guys go to the eye, you can see that group. This is permanent from the start and cannot be edited. So no matter where you place this trigger, it's always gonna have this stuff over here, right? So what we wanna do is we wanna hide the counter, because if we delete the start position, for example, and start, you can see the counter in the robot part, but we don't want that. We don't want the timer to be in the robot part. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna copy this alpha, which basically makes it go away. The timer basically fades away. We want to copy it, go to the very beginning of the level, add the alpha over here, and make the fade time 0 and the opacity 0. And what this will do is instantly, as soon as you start the level, the timer is gonna hide. And perfect. And now if we start, we have no thing. And if you guys know, there should be an issue now, right? If you guys know what the issue is, you guys are on it. You guys are doing really good if you guys know what the issue is. So now if we start over here, you can see that there's no timer, which is, where is the timer? Aha, we faded it away. We made the opacity 0 earlier on. So now we're gonna have to bring it back as soon as you hit here. And perfect. Now you guys can see that the timer is counting, and perfect. We have done everything we need. The wall is disabled and clean. Very awesome. So now we're gonna go back to normal stuff. So we're gonna go back to normal gameplay, no longer using triggers, although it was pretty fun, I believe. So now what we're gonna do is, when you exit, especially with a mini wave, if you want to go into a portal, it is very hard to actually hit the portal as the player. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add slopes like that. So like this, to make sure that no matter where the player is, he just gets towards the top like that. So I want to make sure that it's like that, like this, copy and paste, and add another one. But before we add it, we actually want to make sure that we add the D blocks, right? The D blocks are the blocks for to make sure that the player doesn't die when he hits it. So I'm gonna go put the start position over here, make this really fast, and now you guys can see that there's an issue where the wave kind of just slams through them. I don't know why this happens. It is very weird, but what you can do is this is another trick that we're gonna learn. So if you want to select only the slopes in here, you can do this by adding just like that. And you guys can see that sometimes this one gets selected instead, and sometimes that. So it's very weird. But the game usually selects the objects first that you placed first. So this one I placed first, the slopes I placed first, so it's going to select the slopes. And now if I click again, it's going to select the D blocks. So but sometimes it gets weird and you just want to select the slopes and only the slopes. So there's actually a trick for this, and you're gonna go in here and select filter. This one has to be enabled. And now if you select one of those slopes and then go to 3, which is this delete button over here, and click on custom, and now go to edit, enable swipe, and then select everything. And you guys can see that if I select anything, only these slopes are going to be selected. And now we can move them away, which is perfect. Go back to none. If you don't go back to none, this is going to be a big problem, because let's say you stay on there and then you deselect and then you forget it. Now if you place an object, you're no longer going to be able to select it. Like, the objects are not selected by default, which is very bad because you have enabled this one. So it's only selecting slopes. You guys remember? So you have to go back to none, and now you can select again. So this is an issue. Don't run into it. So yeah, now we are selecting the slopes, and we want to copy and paste them and kind of move them like that. And what we want to do is add a slope kind of like in between it. So like that, and then we want to move it down. to kind of add like another line of gameplay to that element. We're gonna select all the slopes, go back, click none, and now the wave is going up because there's no longer these edges, these very weird edges. The player is just yeah, perfect, nice. Now we can copy and paste and flip it. Just make sure you flip it on the right side, because otherwise you're gonna see the weird slopes. So make sure the slopes are right. And now no matter where you go, you're gonna end up as a cube, and that's very cool. And in here, we're gonna add a shader, but not now. We're gonna add shaders later. Now I believe the level is looking clean. We added a end screen type thing, and now we're just gonna end the level, right? We wanna end the level by adding like a nice little ending to it by like, you know, kind of making the player jump up like that. And you guys can see that the drop kind of hits, and if you end a Geometry Dash level, you're slowly gonna go into the what's it called? I'm gonna show you that in here. If you go like that, you guys can see that you go into there, and I kind of want that to sync perfectly with the music so that you kind of perfectly go there. And there's really no way to do that. You just have to, you know, experiment and see what the perfect timing is for that. But yeah, we're gonna see. So like that. Yeah, that was good. That was good. That was not bad. I like this. This is actually pretty good. All right, perfect. Now we have finished the layouts, but there is one last thing. So now if you go like that, you can see that the player can kind of jump on top of it. So what do? How do we disable the player controls? How do we get rid of the controls for the player? We don't want the player to be able to jump. So what you can do is use the options trigger. Options, put it in here, and then click on edit object, disable player 1 controls. By default, in GD there are actually 2 players. In dual mode, if you go over here, there's dual mode. It gets crazy, but yeah, you want to do for player 1. This is like the, if you're playing with one player, player 1 is the one that we want to disable. So disable player 1 controls. And now you guys can see I'm clicking, nothing is happening. I'm clicking, you can't click because you can't jump because we have disabled. So make sure to disable them in here so the player can still have fun with the wave. And yeah, nice, perfect. So the last thing we're going to do is we're actually going to add coins, because coins are very cool. And you guys saw that I clicked on here on the delete tab, and this basically deletes all the start positions. So now if we start, we're going to start at the beginning. Just make sure we start as the cube like that, boom, boom, boom. And yeah, we're going to add coins before we finish this up. And yeah, we're actually getting kind of close to finishing this level. If you have done the layout, that is a massive good step in the right direction. Just make sure the layout is fun. This is the most important part. Now we have done that, and what we want to do is we actually want to add coins. So coins are supposed to be very sneaky, so you're not really supposed to get them that easy. So search for like a very cool spot to add a coin. And the ship part is always a cool part to add coins. So I'm gonna do maybe, yeah. Oh, that's actually a pretty good idea. Maybe if we add a smaller saw blade and then we add a coin on top of it, that would be pretty cool. Coins are in here. You can add up to 3 coins. You guys can see 3 coins into your level. So yeah, we're gonna add coins because why not? So now you guys can see that you can sneak up and go really fast in order to grab that coin. So just make sure that the coin is sneaky. It's, you know, it requires a bit more challenge, and you guys can see there's a problem. We are in here starting mini, but we want to go big. So make sure you add the big portal right there. And it is very bad to add the portal on top of the portal because you're supposed to see the color of the portal. So if you add this, it's hard to tell what portal that is if you're going kind of plain. So make sure that there's like a difference between them. There's like a spacing. So yeah, nice. So now let's add the second coin. Where's the second coin gonna be? Ooh. What if we do it so that we add another one? We make it so that if you click, let's say 50 times, then you are gonna get a coin. I think that is very, very cool. So what we want to do is we want to add this coin maybe, and then make it no animation so that it doesn't animate. And then we want to give it the same group ID as these guys, so 6. And this is basically just as an indicator that if you click 50 times, you're gonna get the coin. So we want to add a wave over here. Wave, make it mini mode like that, and now boom, you guys can see that there's 2 timers, and one of them is for the coin. So what we want to do is we want to we want to add the coin in here. Add the coin over there because the player can't click, so he has to get the coin if he deserves it. So we're gonna add the coin, and we're gonna add 10. Give it a group ID of 10, and now what's gonna happen is that the coin is there, but we're gonna disable the coin. We're gonna remove the coin just gonna disable it. So we're gonna go in here, group ID 10. So by default, as soon as you start, the coin is disabled. You can't see it, so it's not there. It's there, but it's disabled. You can't collect it, basically. So what we want to do is we want to enable the coin if you reach 50 clicks, right? That's what we want to do. So we want to click on here. We want to add 10 and enable. So we want to enable 10, and then we want to add another count. So we want to copy and paste this one. And this time, instead of 25, we want to do 50. So if item ID 1 reaches 50, we want to trigger this one. This one, we're going to give it a new group ID of 11, and make sure it's on spawn triggered. We don't need this one because we're only going to activate it once. And now if you click over there, and what was this one again? You can check 11. So 11, we want to do it over here. 11. So 11 going to be triggered, which is going to enable the coin if you click 50 times. So now you guys can see that if I don't click that many times, only 25, of course the wall is going to be disabled and there's no coin. However, if I click 50 times actually, if I go full speedrun mode like that, yes, click more. Yeah, this actually requires a lot of skill. So yeah, 50 might be a bit too much because the coin is supposed to be not that hard for a level like this. But yeah, I think it's a very fun experiment to add the coin. And I don't like to have 2 timers, so I'm just gonna do 1 timer. I think it's enough. Maybe just add the coin in there and let them know that if they reach 50, just add like a random object in here. Maybe this check in here like that. Just make sure it has the group ID of 6 and like that. Nice. Now you can see that. Yeah, nice. Coin. Let's go. So there's one last coin that we want to add, and where do I want to add? I kind of want to add it in the robot part, but I don't really know where. So boom, let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, that's actually a pretty good idea. Look at this, guys. So what we're gonna do is, you guys remember how I told you can add S blocks to stop the dash orb, or you can just add a completely like a spike or a block to let the player know that they have to stop dashing now. But in here, I didn't add a S block, so that means the guy can just, squeeze in here, and that could be a nice, way for a coin. I think that is very awesome. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna change this one to 2, of course, and we're gonna see where you land if you hold that dash orb. So we want to make a new route for the coin. This one's gonna be a tight one, so that this is how it is, like that. So the coin is gonna be right in there, like that. So this is pretty hard to get as the wave. So like that, this is how you're supposed to go. But if you hold this, you're gonna get the coin. This is awesome. And I think you can actually just hold it for a very long time. Oh my god, what? Yo! What if I add the coin somewhere in here? That would be kind of crazy. Should I? I actually might add. This is a very cool idea. I wouldn't recommend doing that, to be honest, because it's way too unexpected of a coin. But yeah, we're just gonna do fun. Okay, I don't learn from this, I would say, even though this is a tutorial. Okay, actually, I don't know if I'm gonna do that actually, because that's way too hard. Because you have to hit this dash or perfectly like that so that you get through all of this. So yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. Okay, I'm just gonna do professional. We're gonna do everything professionally, right? We can still have this one over here though, because why not, right? So, but if you want to do it like that, actually just give them more space. Maybe like this, so that now move the coin down like that, and now I actually want to add S blocks because yeah, we don't want to have secret ways like we said, right? Now you can collect. The coin is actually kind of hard for this difficulty. What we're gonna do is we're gonna move this up by a bit like that, maybe. So let's do one more. Let's do one more because this is otherwise way too hard, like that. So normal players would just go down, and yeah, I think everybody's gonna go for the coin because it's really easy. Oh yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's not bad. So nice. We have added coins. We have made a layout, and we're gonna preview it. And before we do that, I actually want to add more triggers because the beginning part is blue, and then this one I kind of have an idea that the background. Okay, I'm gonna do the steps. You click in here, you add the trigger, go into edit object in here, background, and then make it kind of go to maybe like kind of like this. It's cool. Then you guys can see that if you reach this part, the background's slowly gonna change to purple or whatever color you put. And what's cool is that you can select it and click on this one and change the color in here. You guys can see that if I go in here and then change the color, I can change it while seeing it. So it is very, very convenient. So copy that, paste it in here. Now this part I want it to be red because it's ball. I like to have it as red. And then this one is I kind of want to have it as let's do. I don't want to use green, so maybe like that, like a very light orange. I think that's pretty cool. And now this one, I want to go back to kind of like this, like that, yeah, like a purple. And then in here, slowly, we're going to go to white. So it's going to take you like 10 seconds to go to white. And this is where it's going to end. And we're going to actually end on a black, on like a very quick black, so that the background kind of goes like that. Yeah, that's very nice. Nice, let's go. Okay, so nice, good. You guys are doing excellent if you reached this far. And yeah, very nice. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to playtest this and see how it is. And the level looks horrible, but that's not the point of a layout, right? The point of a layout is that it looks bad. The point of a layout is that it plays good. The gameplay has to be good, right? So we want to make sure that the gameplay is what we focus on. And also I decided to add another zoom trigger in here. Can I zoom to 0.7 in a very long time? So that slowly goes out. And then in here, I want to zoom back in to this kind of quickly. Like that, yeah, sounds good. And yeah, perfect. So this looks bad because it's supposed to, because what we're prioritizing here is the gameplay. You can see this is bad because I was simply focusing on the gameplay. So now we're gonna give it a test. We're gonna see how this is gonna be. Boom, 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 boom. This is okay. I already love this because the music sync is really nice, and yeah, the gameplay also pretty nice. I'm gonna grab the coin over there, right? We are changing the background color as well. You guys, if you made it so far, you have learned so much because the music sync is so excellent. And now we're going to the robot section. You guys can see that this is pretty fun, and you can see what's going on. You can see what's ahead, which is always very, very important to make sure. And now we're going to here. You can land, no problem. And now in here you have to click 25 times. Can I click 50 times? I'm not too sure. Let's see. I was able to. I didn't grab the coin. Oh my gosh, that's okay. That's so unfortunate. Aha. So now there's a problem. You cannot verify a level after using ignore damage. Now, if you're playing, you gotta make sure that you can die, because if you don't, just go in here and ignore damage, disable it. If you beat a level with ignore damage, even if you didn't touch any spikes, the game is not gonna allow you. And it is very important to make sure that you have that disabled, which is something that I forgot, right? But I had to re-verify the level anyway, because the last coin I didn't grab, and you have to collect all 3 coins in order to verify a level. You don't have to collect all 3 coins at the same run, so I can collect coin 1 and 2, and then on a different run collect the last coin only. That could also work again. This time I'm gonna have to spam like crazy, because I don't want to miss the coin again. Nice. Oh my god. Oh, that's okay. Okay, maybe I should remove the saw blades. Maybe I should just add a whole wall. Okay, that's not a good idea. But this is looking pretty good. I'm honestly looking forward to decorating this in the next episode, and we're gonna have fun. Boom, 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 boom. Perfect. The music sync is literally on point. I love it. And we're gonna actually aim to make a daily level, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to. We're gonna see. Okay, it's very important to just keep spamming in here, because I don't want to fail for the 5th time. Okay, and jump. I can't jump. Okay, because we disabled the player controls. Okay, that's enough. Okay. Oh my god. Okay, so this is a massive mistake, but you're gonna see that because you're not gonna be able to upload the level until you do that. So just move the coin down, or just make it really big, because sometimes you actually kind of fly like that. So what I'm gonna do is gonna make the coin really big so that no matter what happens, you actually grab the coin. Alright, I'm not gonna verify this yet because, yeah, we still have to decorate it in the next episode. Add more effects, add cool stuff, add sound effects maybe. We're gonna add a lot of stuff. But great, if you guys made it so far, you have learned so many things, it is insane. You guys are practically a good creator, a good gameplay creator. That's pretty epic. Alright, so I will see you guys in the next episode. Make sure to slap that subscribe, like, and I will see you guys in the next episode.